This season, Tommy Egan is on one, and while it may be extremely entertaining, his list of adversaries is getting longer by the moment. Furthermore, I didn't think it could grow any longer than it was. When everything is said and done, Tommy usually gets what he wants, but he should exercise caution since Chicago isn't New York, and if things go south, there might not be anyone to support him. Tommy is usually 10 steps ahead of his adversaries, but it seems like he is so focused at the moment that he is blind to the actual snakes that are already setting up camp in his lawn. It took him a minute to realize that Vic was lying to him, but once he did, he made the decision that keeping Vic alive was more important than killing him, a risk that may ultimately pay off. Vic is a lone wolf with very nothing to look forward to in life, but he is also the least trustworthy guy on this program, which is really saying something. Moving out of town and beginning a new life was the one small advantage he had. And Tommy and Diamond took that away from him. So, when they pursue Beth just before they permanently put him down, it's either work with them or live with the guilt. Tommy is taking a chance with Vic, but he's also encountered a lot of Vics in the past. His back is against the wall, and given his upbringing, it's preferable to work for Tommy and Diamond rather than the opposition if you're going to be someone's little snitch. Additionally, Tommy might offer him a longer respite if he gets enough of Stacy. If you're Vic, it's worth a try even though it's unlikely. It felt like a well-known power cliché to have an ear within the task force. Vic doesn't really know anything, so it's a little different this time, but simply giving Stacy false information and then giving Tommy accurate information caused a weird chain reaction that will persist for some time. However, Vic has put himself in a difficult situation because Stacy is not stupid and Tommy doesn't really care if she catches him and puts him in jail or does anything else. Vic will be used by him for as long as possible before being discarded when he is no longer needed. You would think Vic would seek to undermine Tommy for that reason alone, but we've seen how Tommy and Vic have traditionally interacted. Although Stacy may not be aware of it, trying to gain leverage on her is the right course of action, and her political ambitions will probably bring her further problems in her career. In addition, it has completely destroyed her personal life. Given that Stacy and Bobby's marriage was essentially DOA from the moment it was revealed to us, that isn't really fair. We don't see much of the pair, but when we do, it's clear that Stacy's aspirations and control problems contributed significantly to their marriage's downfall. You should know everything you need to know about that union from the fact that Bobby was seated across from her, still hoping to work things out if she would give him an inch. Stacy might regret sacrificing everything for her career, but since her ambition will certainly propel her to her desired heights, she probably won't regret anything. I'm curious to see how Vic enters her life through Ray, how he intends to escape Stacy, and how Tommy takes advantage of Stacy's narrow-mindedness to either ruin her or get her to collaborate with him. I wouldn't rule out Tommy finding a way to persuade Stacy to support him, not necessarily on his side, but in a way that benefits both of them. Speaking of Tommy, I adore how he, Diamond, and Janet are all walking extremely thin lines around one another, feigning agreement when it couldn't be further from the reality. Though they don't all have the same individuals enjoying the summit of the mountain together, they all have their sights set on something greater. Tommy has enough faith in the coalition to see that the advantages greatly exceed the drawbacks. He understands that he needs supporters if he hopes to become king, and the alliance offers that kind of backing. Tommy is aware of this, but he still finds it difficult to control his ego. I could see why Tommy was irritated. He would be seeking retribution because Ortega was unrelenting in his attempts to assassinate him. However, Tommy gets into difficulty when he allows his emotions to control him, which happens far too frequently. Tommy made a message to Ortega by killing Mateo, and he brought his head to the coalition meeting to bolster his ego as much as to demonstrate his strength. Tommy believed he was exuding a King Kong ain't got shit on me vibe, and it's possible that he was given a similar response by the audience. I'm not sure if Tommy's narcissism is impairing his judgment, but he truly doesn't realize how his intentions affect everyone around him, which is why the boys were understandably afraid of the mayhem he was generating. Even though everyone in the warehouse is aware of how risky their industry is, they still want to stay in their lanes. Furthermore, the cartels don't benefit from getting on their bad side. Even though Cha is currently thought to be the most knowledgeable about what's going on in Chicago, that might not always be the case, and it's normal to be afraid of what Tommy is doing. For those groups, tossing chopped heads around was a display of madness rather than strength. The theatrics at the meeting forced Diamond to even allow Janet to speak up, which would have been practically unheard of during Power Book 4, Force Season 2. Diamond looks to be reaching the end of his rope with Tommy every week. Naturally, Diamond is unaware that Janet is manipulating him like a violin, but you can't even go after him too hard because so many people on this show are getting snowed. Diamond is precise in a manner that Tommy and Janet will never be, and he's the kind of cool-headed person they might only imagine. He wants to rise to the top of the food chain, just like them, but he doesn't want to achieve it in the same manner. Although Diamond occasionally acts as Tommy's defender, he also recognizes Tommy's benefits in a way that Janet is too blind to. Janet perceives someone who is stealing from him and an intruder. Someone in what he feels ought to be his own place that he is unwilling to set aside his pride in order to recognize the benefits of working really with someone like Tommy. In addition, Shanti, who is quite convincing, is in his ear every 5 seconds reminding him that they must rule the world. Shanti is a fascinating character because she is well liked on the streets, yet it's obvious that being a woman has kept her where she is. I will say it till the very end, Shanti, Janet, Tommy, and Diamond working together would be everything. She is intelligent, cunning, the four of them could easily take over Chicago, but their egos and incapacity to look beyond themselves would prevent it. Since their relationship is just as much about business as anything else, I had doubts about Janet and Shanti. They are deeply immersed in a commercial connection just as much as, if not more so than, a personal one, despite the fact that they do care about each other. However, Power Book 4, Force Season 3 is making a lot of effort to show us the more tender side of their relationship, and I value that since it gives us a new perspective on them and their desires. Shanti genuinely seems to want to achieve more, both for herself and because she believes Janet deserves it. At least that's how I feel at the moment. Once she understands that Janet will never betray Diamond, things might take a turn for the worst, but we'll have to wait for that to happen. Janet is aware that Diamond has wronged him in certain ways, and he has every right to be offended, but he won't kill him. I don't think Janet has the courage to follow through. Now that he is thinking more clearly, Janet can continue to assure Shanti that everything is well with the plan, but eventually he will have to make a decision between Diamond and Shanti. This is where the episode explodes. In the final stretch, Tommy sets up a quiet, low-profile operation, something only one person in his crew knows about. This is the trap. This is where the truth reveals itself. And sure enough, the rival crew shows up at the exact location, at the exact time, ready to execute the perfect ambush. Tommy escapes, barely. But he doesn't leave empty-handed. He leaves with one answer. The mole is someone close. Very close. The shocking twist confirms that Tommy's trusted ally, someone he believed was loyal, has been secretly feeding information to a rival faction for weeks. Not small details. Not random chatter. But complete operational intelligence. This isn't betrayal driven by fear. This is betrayal driven by strategy. The rival crew isn't trying to slow Tommy down. They're trying to erase him from Chicago completely. And the traitor didn't just hand them information, they shaped Tommy's downfall from the inside. This is the kind of twist that shakes the entire season. The episode heavily implies the mole's motives, but doesn't reveal them fully, or is this a long-planned betrayal dating back to last season? Tommy is blindsided, not because he didn't expect enemies, but because he never expected this person to turn on him. This betrayal attacks Tommy's biggest weakness,